When You Take a Pig to a Party by Christina Thormanis McLary and Maya LaCroix. This little girl is Adelaide, and the pig beside her is Sherman. Adelaide and Sherman do lots of things together. They swing on the tire string hanging from the black oak tree. They slide down the hay pile in the barn, and they like a good game of horseshoes after supper. Adelaide has always said that Sherman is the dearest, sweetest, most wonderful, and best behaved pig in the world. So, of course, she thought it would be okay to take him to Ethan's birthday party, especially since she gave Sherman a bath, sprinkled some of her mother's best perfume on him, and tied her father's polka dot bow tie around his neck. Things did go dandy at first. Sherman loved musical chairs and even ran pin the tail on the donkey. But then Adeline got so carried away watching Marlin the magician that she forgot to keep an eye on Sherman. So, before she knew it, Sherman was in the flower garden munching away. And when Ethan's daddy saw Sherman, he bellowed, "There was a pig in our peonies!" And Adeline and Ethan and all of the children took off after Sherman, yelling, "Stop, Sherman, stop!" But Sherman, thinking that they wanted to play chase, started running in circles and bumped into Ethan's daddy, sending popcorn spiraling like a January blizzard, which startled Sherman, who ran between Marlin the magician's legs, causing the rabbit just popping out of Marlin's hat to land kerplunk on Sherman's back, which astonished Sherman so much that he scrambled through a hole under the fence to where the McKinneys were having a barbecue. In fact, Sherman was running so fast that he didn't see the McKinneys' swimming pool until he landed splat right in it. And the McKinneys and all the guests roared, "There's a pig in the pool!" And Adeline and Ethan and all of the children chased after Sherman, hollering, "Stop, Sherman, stop!" But Sherman didn't stop. Instead, he splashed across the pool, scrambled out, and squeezed through a loose plank into Miss Primrose's yard. And before Adeline could get a word out, Sherman was heading through the open door into Miss Primrose's house, where she was hosting a bridge club lunch. "Eek! There's a pig in my parlor!" shrieked Miss Primrose, whereupon Cassandra, Miss Primrose's cat, was so dismayed to see a pig in her house, took a flying leap and landed kerplunk on Sherman's back. And Adeline and Ethan and all of the children, with wet clothes and muddy feet, trampled through Miss Primrose's parlor, crying, "Stop, Sherman, stop!" But Sherman was already in the next yard, where Mrs. Hayden was painting her flower boxes. And when Mr. Hayden stuck his head out of the window to see what the commotion was all about, he tipped a pot of flowers onto a bucket of paint, sending paint kerspelunking over everything and everybody. Mrs. Hayden squealed, "There's a pig in our paint!" And Adeline and Ethan and all of the children, with wet clothes and muddy feet and paint in their hair and on their best party clothes, shouted, "Stop, Sherman, stop!" But Sherman certainly would not stop. Instead, he darted across the street, where Mr. Ribble was watering his lawn. And when Mr. Ribble turned in surprise, he sprayed water all over Mr. and Mrs. Rice, who were just coming home from the bakery. And that, of course, caused them to throw up their hands in despair, sending donuts kerspelunking, crumbling all over the sidewalk. Adeline and Ethan and all of the children scattered over Mr. Ribble's lawn, screaming, "Stop, Sherman, stop!" And finally, at long last, Sherman stopped. To eat the donuts, of course. But just as Adeline was about to grab Sherman by his bow tie, Mr. and Mrs. Rice hollered, "There's a pig in our pastry!" Which gave Sherman such a fright he took off again, heading straight for Lucy Marple, who was coming down the street on her brand new skateboard. "Help! There's a pig in my path!" Lucy hollered. Adeline and Ethan and all of the children called out at the top of their lungs, "Jump, Lucy, jump off!" But when Lucy jumped off the skateboard, it did a backward flip and landed kerplunk under Sherman's feet, which sent Sherman careening towards Ethan's yard, where Ethan's mother was putting the candles on the prettiest, yummiest, most delicious, most scrumptious looking birthday cake you ever saw. And Adeline and Ethan and all of the children wailed, "Oh no, not the cake!" And they yelled and hollered and screamed and shrieked and cried and shouted and begged, "Stop, Sherman, please stop!" And smack, bash, boom, he did. So if you ask Adeline, she'll tell you, you never know what will happen when you take a pig to a party, especially if his name is Sherman.